Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 5 of What If Goku Had the Sharingan. This is going to be the finale of this What If, and that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump right into the What If itself. So, after everybody returns to their own timelines, the first thing Goku does is actually summon the dragon. He asks Shenron exactly what the eyes that the other version of him actually had were, and what they did, and how he could even, get them. And Shenron would basically explain the process of gaining the Rinnegan through, the merging of chakra and everything like that. And Goku would be like, well, how did he get them then? And he's like, he just used a wish on the Dragon Balls. And Goku's like, well, can I do that? Sure, your wish has been granted, and Goku gets the Rinnegan now. Now, with this actually happening, the next arc is going to be the Tournament of Power. Zeno still gets that idea, and if anything, it would actually happen sooner than it does in the original because he doesn't have a future version of himself to play with. And so, they all basically have to gather all of their team members, or 10 in specific. So, Goku, obviously being on the team, along with Piccolo, Gohan, Vegeta, and the androids, as you remember, they were wished back after, the entire Cell thing happened and everything of that sort. And the next couple people are pretty much just going to be the humans. Goku doesn't really want to revive people like Frieza or anybody like that, and so he just recruits a lot of the humans, being Krillin, Tenshin Han, Master Roshi, and basically just everybody like that won't really help in the tournament that much, but, just kind of like placeholders in order to make it so that they have the maximum amount of people for the tournament itself. And so, with that being said, the tournament would begin. And the beginning of it wouldn't really go all too much differently. Everybody would pretty much be splitting off into their own groups, or at least Goku, Vegeta, and Android 17 would, whereas everybody else would kind of split off into different teams. Koen would go with Android 18, and everybody else would pretty much stick together, at least for the beginning. So as people like Gohan, who are much stronger than they were in the original because not only have they kept up with their training, but he also has a greater potential than he did even in the original, along with the fact that he has the Sharingan. And so the tournament is pretty much a wipe until the last, basically, couple of fights would happen. Obviously, Goku versus Jiren would happen, and that's pretty much one of the only fights I'm going to cover because that's the only one that's really worth it. Because nobody else really, other than God of Destruction and Toppo, would even really be a challenge for anybody on the team who is, strong. And so, with this actually happening, Goku would begin his fight with Jiren, testing him by starting in base and slowly working his way up the Super Saiyan forms, going Super Saiyan, and Super Saiyan 2. He doesn't go Super Saiyan 3 and goes into God and then Blue, and when he does enter his Blue form, it is enough to basically make Jiren start fighting back and raise his power quite a bit more than he did in the original at this point, probably about to where he was in Kaioken times 20. And so, Goku continues this fight and realizes he has to go even further. He has to power up even more, and so he goes into his Saiyan Beyond God, all Super Saiyan 4 Primal, whatever you actually want to call it, basically like the God-infused Super Saiyan 4, and his skin, or his hair and everything like that on all of his body, would begin turning a pretty light green color as his power goes up massively, and he charges forward towards Jiren. As their fight is continuing on, Goku is mastering his Rinnegan more and more because he really hasn't had the chance to use it yet. And so he's learning about the abilities and what they do, and learns that he can use this basically switching places with people or objects or pretty much anything, and doing this, he can pretty much just teleport immediately to wherever he wants to go, but it does cost quite a bit of chakra in order for him to do so. And so their fight would continue like this. Goku actually pretty much matching up against a pretty heavily suppressed Jiren, and every once in a while teleporting around, getting actual pretty decent blows until Jiren gets sick of it. He's had enough, and he powers up even further. And when Goku does his switching, Jiren slams him to the ground, now realizing how it works, and Goku gets sent flying down into the ground before Jiren kicks him, sending him flying, seemingly off the entire arena, but somebody actually managed to catch him. This is Piccolo with his stretchy arms, actually just grabbing him and pulling him back into the arena. Goku realizes that he is not going to be able to defeat Jiren like this, and so he decides to go after some weaker members, basically, that are still in the tournament, and basically see if he can find something to be able to, like, awaken him, or, you know, get him stronger, because he doesn't have, like, a spirit bomb or anything like that he can even use in general. And so he goes and fights Kale and Caulifla, just like he does in the original. This eventually, after, like, a little bit of training by Goku, leads to them fusing and powering up against Goku, when Goku, powering up into his primal Super Saiyan 4 God state, is actually overpowered. He's getting sent flying around. His raw power, which is the main, basically, focus of this form, is actually being overpowered by somebody. And he is shocked by this and gets sent flying away. And he powers up even further, going into his full power form, and he charges back, but still, it's not enough. Every time he goes back, he just gets slammed into the ground. Until, eventually, he gets an idea. Something that Whis has actually been telling him for the longest time. That you basically are going to need to clear your mind, get rid of any anger, or anything in your mind, in order to unlock a form or a power that is even greater than what you hold. And so, this is what Goku does. He deactivates his Rinnegan, knowing that that would cause, intensified emotions. He does the same to his Super Saiyan forms, and he closes his eyes, and basically begins focusing on clearing his mind, sensing what's around him at the same time, and basically trying to dodge it without actually thinking about dodging it. And so, Goku manages to do it. He dodges out of the way of Kefla's punch, and then another, as an aura begins exuding around Goku. And Goku's hair doesn't spike up or anything like that. But his eyes turn silver as he opens them and looks up towards Kefla, looking down at his own hands, wondering exactly what it is he just did. But he kinda knows. And so, he charges towards Kefla once again, but is pretty much unable to use this to its, fullest potential, because he doesn't know that he has to, think about attacking. And that makes it a little bit harder for him to do, but as the fight would go on, he gets better and better and better with it, and eventually manages to knock Kefla out of the ring. With Kefla being knocked out of the ring, Goku could once again need to basically regenerate all of his stamina. He needs to get stronger, and so some of the, weaker members like Piccolo, Krillin, Tenshinhan, anybody that isn't pretty much like Vegeta or Gohan, would basically give Goku all of their energy and step out of the ring, knowing that they stand no chance against Jiren, and pretty much Goku is the only one that can do anything about it. And so, with them all stepping out of the ring, giving Goku all of their energy, he isn't up to max or anything like that, but he can at least go into, forms like Super Saiyan Blue pretty easily and for a decent amount of time. And so, Jiren, versus Jiren round 2 would happen, with Vegeta pretty much doing exactly what he did in the original, going into his Super Saiyan Blue evolution, defeating Toppo and everything like that. And so, Goku and Vegeta would power up. Vegeta going into Super Saiyan Blue evolution, as Goku goes into his Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 form. And so, they would begin clashing with Jiren, and they'd actually be doing much better than they were in the original. Especially with Goku being able to use his Rinnegan now, because he's not trying to utilize Ultra Instinct at the moment, and because he gets a lot stronger after using Ultra Instinct, as we saw in the Tournament of Power itself. And so, they would be fighting, and Jiren would be forced to go into his full power. He takes out the weaker Link first, knocking Vegeta out, as Vegeta gives Goku the rest of his energy. Everybody is looking at Goku now, and nobody knows exactly what is going to happen, other than one. It's Krillin, and he tells Goku, never give up, and remember what happened when we were kids. Goku remembers back to the time where basically, Krillin had to, die in order to get his Dragon Ball, and he, raged out because of that. That's the first time he entered his Ikari form, and the first time he got his Mangekyo Sharingan. He remembers back to that moment, and he smiles at Krillin, but knows that's not exactly what he needs to hear at the moment, because he decides that he needs to go into Ultra Instinct. And so, once again, he powers down. Jiren knows exactly what he's doing, because he saw him do it against Kefla, and so decides to let Goku power up. Because, you know, that's kind of just who Jiren is. And so, Goku, powering down into his base form, would once again close his eyes, clear all of his thoughts, and enter into Ultra Instinct once again. Not the completed version, still Omen, and so their fight with Jiren would begin, where it would go pretty much exactly to canon, whereas Goku would have a little bit more stamina, and so would actually be able to knock out Jiren after he got his mastered Ultra Instinct form, and so he is declared the MVP of the tournament. With that actually, you know, happening, with him being declared the MVP, this means that he would obviously wish back all of the universes that were basically erased here in this tournament, and so the wish is granted and everything pretty much goes back to normal, until a evil wizard basically arrives. But Moro's not really going to be too much of an issue, like, just to put it simply. With basically Goku having the Renegon, that means that not only can he pretty much use all of the paths and therefore would be able to do stuff like absorb chakra and everything like that, or pretty much life energy, he could do a lot of things that would be able to kill Moro even when he's in a weakened state, and even if he couldn't, this would pretty much just lead to the exact things happening as they do in canon, because as the way I interpret it, you can't really combine stuff like Ultra Instinct with rage-inducing forms or powers or anything like that, so it would pretty much just go back to canon from this point, and that's where I'm going to leave the rest of this series basically off, and I'll see you guys in my next What If.